Hey there. Welcome to your deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
Today we're diving into something
Okay.
pretty timely and maybe a little daunting too.
Yeah, okay.
How to buy Bitcoin,
All right.
especially when the market's not exactly feeling
Right.
bullish.
Yeah, yeah.
You sent over some really fascinating material from Jigs,
Oh, yeah. This
who
is
seems to have a pretty unique approach to this whole thing.
very unique.
He connects long-distance running
Oh, wow.
with a detailed Bitcoin buying strategy.
Very interesting.
So get ready for some interesting insights.
Yeah, his approach really caught my eye, too.
Yeah.
It's not every day that you see marathon training principles applied to financial decisions.
Right.
But he seems to really focus on patience
Yeah.
and calculated risk.
Yeah.
And having a very well-defined game plan,
Uh-huh.
all things that are absolutely crucial for navigating this unpredictable world of crypto.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole running and Bitcoin connection.
Okay.
Jigs kicks things off with what he calls the power of three. Three fundamental questions to ask
Okay.
before even thinking about buying Bitcoin.
Oh.
And he starts with why.
Oh.
Why do you want to buy Bitcoin in the first place?
Makes sense.
It seems simple, but, maybe not everyone's really thought that through.
It's deceptively simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
That why really digs into your motivations.
Yeah.
And it helps to clarify if Bitcoin actually aligns with your overall financial goals.
Right.
I mean, it's like choosing to run a marathon. You wouldn't just sign up for any race out there without considering,
Yeah.
the terrain, the
Yeah.
distance,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
personal goals.
Your personal goals, yeah.
You really have to
Have a why.
think about why you're doing it.
Absolutely. And then he moves on to when.
Okay.
When is the right time to buy? Again, sounds pretty straightforward, but timing the market is notoriously tricky.
It is.
It is.
Absolutely. And that's where Jigs really diverges from that typical buy low, sell high mantra.
Yeah.
He's not about trying to perfectly time those peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Instead, he advocates for a strategic, almost methodical approach
Okay.
to deploying capital, particularly when the market is down.
Right.
So he splits his capital into a 90-10 ratio.
Okay.
90% is designated for investing.
Go ahead.
10% is held back as dry powder.
Okay, so what do you make of that initial split?
I can see the logic in keeping some cash on hand,
Ah.
for unexpected opportunities or
Yeah.
emergencies,
It's special.
especially in a volatile market like crypto.
Absolutely.
But
But it does seem
it does seem pretty conservative holding back 10% when everyone's talking about, buying the dip.
yeah, it does go against the grain a little bit, doesn't it?
It does.
But it speaks to that long-term perspective.
Yeah.
And it prioritizes capital preservation over chasing quick gains.
Uh-huh.
It's like having that reserve tank of energy for that final stretch of a marathon,
Yeah.
making sure you can finish strong, even when things get tough. Yeah, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got 90% ready to be invested.
Okay.
But then Jigs takes us even further.
He does.
He divides that 90%
Yeah.
into three uneven chunks,
Uh-huh.
38%, 38%, and 24%.
Yeah.
Why the unusual split?
It's interesting.
It seems a bit random at first glance.
Yeah, it seems a little random, but this is where that marathon strategy really comes into play.
Okay.
Jigs applies his 10-10-10 marathon pacing
Okay.
to his investing.
Okay.
Each of those chunks represents a different stage of the race.
Okay.
And each of those chunks is triggered by very specific market conditions.
Right.
It's a very fascinating way to bring that disciplined pacing from the physical world
Yeah.
into the financial one.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not just throwing money at Bitcoin randomly.
No,
He's pacing his investments,
he is.
just like he would pace himself in a race.
Yeah,
This has started to get really intriguing.
it is.
But how does he actually determine when to buy?
Right.
What signals is he looking for?
So for that initial 38% investment,
Okay.
think of it as that steady head of the race.
Okay.
Jigs waits very patiently for Bitcoin to drop a significant 70%
Wow.
from its all-time high.
70%.
70%?
That's a steep decline.
That's a big drop.
And that definitely requires
A
patience.
lot of patience.
It does.
Yeah.
So he's not buying just because the price dipped a little.
Yep.
He's waiting for a major correction.
A major correction.
The 70% drop,
Yeah,
that's a pretty broad indicator.
it is.
How does he confirm it's the right time to buy within that window?
Yeah, so this is where Jigs adds another layer of analysis.
Okay.
He uses a combination of technical indicators
All right.
to confirm his buying signals.
Okay.
And he specifically mentions Steve's hybrid strategy,
Okay.
only focusing on the great buy and incredible buy signals,
Okay.
and something called the pi cycle bottom indicator.
Bicycle bottom indicator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which involves the crossing of two specific moving averages.
All right. So he's not just relying on gut feeling or market sentiment. He's got these technical tools to help him identify potential buying opportunities.
Yes.
So could you break down those indicators a little bit further for those of us who aren't chart wizards?
Of course.
Thank you.
So Steve's hybrid strategy at its core combines different market indicators
Okay.
to identify points where Bitcoin might be significantly undervalued.
Okay.
So think of it like a checklist
Okay.
that helps filter out all that market noise
Yeah.
and pinpoint those moments when buying pressure might be building the great buy. And incredible buy signals represent particularly strong opportunities within that strategy.
So it's like having a set of filters to sift through the market data and find those golden nuggets.
Exactly.
All right. What about the pi cycle bottom indicator?
So the pi cycle bottom indicator uses historical price data
Okay.
to identify potential market bottoms.
Okay.
And it focuses on the relationship between Bitcoin's price and two specific moving averages. And when these averages cross in a particular way, it can signal that a bottom is near.
Okay.
So think of it like using a historical roadmap
Right.
to anticipate future market trends.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So he's got this multi-layered approach.
He does.
Waiting for a 70% drop.
Yep.
And then confirming it with these technical signals.
Exactly.
Like he's stacking the odds in his favor.
Well, he's trying to.
He's trying to.
Yeah.
But what about those other two chunks of capital?
Okay.
The second 38% and that final 24%.
Right.
What triggers those buys?
So that's where Jigs picks up the pace.
Okay.
We're moving from that steady head of the marathon to that more intense tempo phase.
Right.
And for that, we'll need to dive into his concept of the sweet spot window.
This is getting really interesting.
It is.
I'm ready to hear more about this sweet spot. I have a feeling it's where things get even more strategic.
It is where things get more strategic. Buckle up. Yeah, the sweet spot window is where Jigs' strategy really gets into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
It's not just about waiting for a dip.
Right.
It's about identifying a confluence of specific market conditions that align with his overall thesis.
Okay, I'm all ears. Lay it on me.
Yeah.
What exactly is this sweet spot all about?
So think of it like this.
Okay.
Jigs believes that certain periods in Bitcoin's market cycles present particularly favorable buying opportunities.
Okay.
He looks for three distinct blueprints to overlap, creating the sweet spot for deploying that second 38% of his investment capital.
All right, so sweet spot window equals three blueprints converging.
Yes.
Makes sense. What's the first blueprint?
So the first blueprint focuses on Bitcoin's halving cycles.
Okay.
You might recall from some of our previous deep dives that Bitcoin halvings are those events that occur roughly every 4 years, where the rate at which new Bitcoins are created gets cut in half. These events tend to have a significant impact on Bitcoin's price over time.
Right. The halvings, I remember. They create this sense of scarcity.
Right.
Reducing the supply of new Bitcoins entering the market.
Exactly.
So Jigs is using those halving cycles as part of his timing strategy.
Yes.
What's he looking for specifically?
So Jigs believes that the period leading up to a halving and the months following it often present the most attractive buying opportunities.
Okay.
He waits for Bitcoin's price to fall within a specific zone relative to its previous halving cycle.
Okay.
So it's like anticipating a wave building before it crests.
So he's not just arbitrarily buying during any dip. He's strategically choosing entry points that align with these larger halving cycles.
Exactly.
That's blueprint number one.
Yes.
What's the second blueprint?
Blueprint number 2 gets even more specific.
Okay.
He narrows down that buying window to between 70 and 40 weeks before the next Bitcoin halving event.
That's a pretty tight window.
It is.
It seems like timing is crucial here.
Yeah, it's like a countdown. But instead of days, it's measured in weeks leading up to this major event.
But I can see how it adds another layer of precision to his strategy.
Yeah.
All right, 2 blueprints down, 1 to go. What's the final piece of this sweet spot puzzle?
The third and final blueprint incorporates specific technical indicators that need to align.
Okay.
Jigs looks for Bitcoin's price action to dip below a technical indicator called the Gorson channel.
Okay, Gorson channel, can you elaborate on that a bit? It sounds pretty technical.
So imagine the Gorson channel as a set of boundaries that Bitcoin's price tends to stay within most of the time. It's calculated based on past price movements.
Okay.
Kind of like a historical roadmap.
Right.
And when the price drops below this channel, it can signal a potential buying opportunity.
So it's like Bitcoin is breaking out of its usual lane, suggesting a potential shift in momentum.
Exactly.
Interesting. Is that all for blueprint number 3?
Jigs adds one more layer to this final blueprint.
Okay.
He also waits for the price to approach a specific moving average based on the Fibonacci sequence.
Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, you might remember the Fibonacci sequence from math class.
Oh, yeah.
Each number is the sum of the 2 preceding ones.
Right, right.
Well, it turns out this sequence can also be applied to financial markets.
Wow, math class coming in handy for Bitcoin investing. Who knew?
I know, right?
So the price needs to be below the Gorson channel and near this Fibonacci-based moving average.
Yes.
It sounds like he's really looking for multiple confirmations before deploying that second 38%.
Exactly. It's not just one signal. It's a convergence of factors that need to align.
Right.
It's like waiting for the stars to align before making a major decision. He's patient and disciplined, waiting for those ideal conditions to materialize.
It's all starting to click now.
Good.
He starts with that 70% drop from the all-time high.
Right.
Confirms it with those technical indicators for his first 38%. Yep. Then waits for the sweet spot window with those 3 blueprints for his second 38%.
Exactly.
He's got this methodical, almost scientific approach to buying Bitcoin.
It's very methodical.
It is, but what about that final 24%? What triggers that buy?
That last chunk is reserved for what Jigs calls opportunistic buys.
Opportunistic buys.
And this is where his marathon analogy shifts gears again.
Okay.
He compares it to the final heart phase of the race.
Okay.
That burst of energy you need to push through to the finish line.
Okay. I'm sensing this is where things get really exciting.
It does get exciting.
What does he consider an opportunistic buy?
These are moments when the market throws a curveball, an unexpected event that sends Bitcoin's price tumbling.
Okay.
Think of it like a black swan event.
Okay.
The COVID crash back in 2020 is a perfect example, or any other major market shock that triggers widespread panic selling.
So he's essentially prepared to buy more when most people are running for the exit.
Exactly.
That takes some serious nerve.
Yeah. It goes against the grain, against that instinct to follow the herd.
Right.
But Jigs sees these moments as potential opportunities to scoop up Bitcoin at a discount.
Okay.
He's like that runner who sees a hill as a chance to pull ahead, not a reason to slow down.
So he's not just passively buying the dip?
No.
He's actively seeking out those moments of market turmoil.
Yes.
Those black swan events to deploy that final tummy 4%.
Yes.
It's a bold strategy for sure.
It is.
But it seems like he's got a plan for every stage of the race, every market scenario.
He does seem to have all his bases covered.
He does. And it's important to note that his strategy isn't just about buying.
Right.
He has a well-defined exit strategy as well.
Yeah, he does.
Using specific signals to lock in profits.
Right.
While letting some of his Bitcoin ride for potential long-term gains.
Right.
He even uses a different time frame for selling compared to buying.
It's a longer time frame.
Wait, so he's not just holding on to Bitcoin indefinitely.
No.
He's actively managing his position, taking profits at certain points. Can you tell me more about this exit strategy?
Sure.
What kind of signals does he use?
He mentions using something called the 2 chart.
Okay.
Which I'm assuming refers to a chart with a 2-week time frame.
Okay.
To identify his sell signals.
Okay.
And just like with his buying strategy, he relies on Steve's hybrid strategy, but focuses on the sell signals on this longer time frame.
Okay, so he's applying a similar set of tools.
Yeah.
But adjusting the time frame to align with his selling goals.
Exactly.
It's like he's running a different kind of race when it comes to selling, maybe more of an ultramarathon than a sprint.
It is more of an ultramarathon.
Yeah.
He's not chasing those quick wins.
Right.
He's playing the long game, taking profits strategically while letting the rest of his position potentially grow over time.
This is fascinating stuff.
It is.
I'm starting to understand why his approach has resonated with so many people.
Yeah, it's really intriguing.
But it's important to remember that this is just one person's perspective.
Yeah. Absolutely. What works for Jigs might not work for everyone.
Right.
The key takeaway here isn't to blindly copy his strategy.
Right.
But to understand the principles behind it. Yeah. The importance of having a clear plan, managing risk, and aligning your investment decisions with your personal financial goals and risk tolerance.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's about learning from his experience, adapting his ideas, and ultimately crafting a strategy that fits your unique circumstances.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself to become a more informed and confident investor, no matter what the market throws your way.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive.
It has.
Jig's approach certainly makes you think differently about investing in Bitcoin.
It does.
It's not just about speculation.
That's right.
It's about strategy, discipline,
Yeah.
and having the patience of a marathon runner.
Yeah. It really is refreshing to hear someone talk about Bitcoin in such a grounded way.
Yeah.
It's not about getting rich quick.
No.
It's about understanding the technology, having a plan. Yeah.
And sticking to it.
Right.
Even when things get a little bumpy.
Even when things get bumpy. Yeah.
You know, Jiggs isn't promising overnight riches.
No.
He's advocating for a thoughtful, almost philosophical approach to Bitcoin.
Right. He even talks about shifting from a high time preference to a low time preference mindset.
I'm intrigued by that idea.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure.
What does he mean by time preference?
So it's about how we value rewards over time.
Okay.
A high time preference means you crave immediate gratification.
Okay.
Think, instant profits.
Yeah.
Quick returns.
Quick returns, yeah.
But a low time preference means you're willing to delay gratification for a potentially bigger payoff down the road. It's the difference between sprinting and running a marathon, right?
So in the investing world, high time preference would be like day trading.
Yes.
Constantly chasing those quick gains.
Yeah.
While low time preference is more about the long game holding for the long term.
Yeah.
Believing in the underlying value of the asset.
Precisely.
Okay.
And Jiggs argues that cultivating that low time preference mindset is essential for navigating this volatile world of Bitcoin.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It's about tuning out all that noise.
Yeah.
Resisting those emotional urges to buy high and sell low and focusing on that bigger picture.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
It is.
Especially when you see Bitcoin making headlines, with those dramatic price swings.
Oh, absolutely.
But if you have a long-term vision and a strategy that you believe in, you're less likely to make those impulsive decisions that can kind of derail your progress.
Absolutely. It's like a marathon runner.
Yeah.
Who doesn't get discouraged by a slight incline or a headwind.
Right.
They trust their training, they keep their eyes on the finish line, and they know that consistency, not speed, is the key to success.
Absolutely. And Jiggs also emphasizes the importance of having a well-defined exit strategy.
He does.
He even mentions using the 2 chart, which we think refers to a 2-week time frame chart, to identify selling opportunities using Steve's hybrid strategy. But this time focusing on sell signals.
Right, using the opposite signals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how he adapts the same tools for both buying and selling.
It is.
Simply adjusting the time frame to match his goals.
Right.
So he's not just holding and hoping for the best.
Nope.
He's actively managing his position, taking profits strategically
Yes.
when his indicators align.
Exactly.
He's playing both offense and defense.
He is.
Just like a seasoned athlete.
Yeah.
But he also acknowledges that there's always an element of uncertainty.
Of course.
Especially in a market as dynamic as crypto.
Absolutely.
He doesn't claim to have all the answers.
Yep.
But he encourages listeners to adapt his ideas.
Yeah.
To think critically and to find what works best for them.
That's what makes his approach so compelling.
It is.
He's not dictating a rigid set of rules.
Right.
He's providing a framework, a set of principles that can be customized to fit individual risk tolerance and financial goals.
Yeah. He even encourages people to, grab a pen and paper.
Yeah.
Really engage with the material.
Yeah, get in there.
And to personalize his strategy.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
It's not just about passively absorbing information.
No.
It's about actively applying it to your own situation.
Right.
He's empowering people to become their own financial coaches in a way.
I like that. Yeah.
To understand the game, develop their own strategies, and to make informed decisions.
That's the goal.
Well said.
Thank you.
This deep dive into Jiggs's world has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
It's not every day you find someone who can so seamlessly blend marathon training with Bitcoin investing.
No, it's a unique perspective.
But I think there's a lot we can all learn from his disciplined approach.
I agree.
His long-term vision and his commitment to understanding the fundamentals.
Absolutely. It's a refreshing reminder that successful investing, especially in a space like crypto, requires more than just luck or following the hype.
Yeah.
It demands careful planning, risk management, and a willingness to chart your own course.
Maybe even a little bit of marathon training wouldn't hurt.
Maybe a little bit.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.